Hey, gang, here's the challenge and the truth. Spring practice, spring games in Nebraska just hits different.
You are Locked On Huskers, your daily podcast on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, gang, DP here, Locked On Huskers. Thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen each and every single day. Thank you to you everydayers, you folks who check in every day. You leave comments, you guys send messages. It's greatly appreciated. We want to thank the folks from Built. See, something exciting is coming April 22nd to Built.com. Now, I don't have all the details yet, and I can't tell you the stuff that I know, but the excitement is real. It's something you won't want to miss. If you know how Built Bar works, this is how we're going to do this. They have the most incredible protein bars in the world, and they do these amazing flavor drops with unreal flavors in limited quality. It's the limited quality part that you need to pay attention to. So mark your calendars and head to Built.com this Saturday. So as you're watching the Husker spring game, jump to Built.com April 22nd to be one of the first to discover what all the hype is about. I can't wait to see what this new flavor is. Make sure you use the promo code LOCKEDON15, LOCKEDON15, and you'll get 15% off your order, Built.com. I said it in the open, and I'll bounce around in it because spring football in Nebraska hits different. And everybody likes to believe that their version of football and the importance of their program is top level. But no, let's be clear here. The spring game at Nebraska has more moments and more statements than any spring game in the country. I mean, if we just talk back 2004, and that's kind of the range that we'll cover over the course of this episode, is go back to the Callahan era, and then jump into the Bo Pelini era, and then the Riley era, and then the Scott Frost era, and now the Matt Rule era. Because if you want a GPS for Nebraska football, the spring game tells you so much about the standing, the state of the union when it comes to Nebraska football. And because it's Nebraska, and Nebraska is unique in that there's no pro team in Nebraska to compare or to take some of the attention or to take some of the focus or to receive any of the resource and funds. Nebraska football is the program in the state of Nebraska across the board. And that importance, no matter where you go to college in the state or in the peripheral area, the Huskers are the thing. They're the thing, and they're going to be the thing. And no football program in the country drives its state's economics and mood and ambiance like Nebraska Cornhusker football. It's just fight me on it. There's no state school that has total and absolute dominance in the state like Nebraska Husker football. And because of that, people in the state rally for Nebraska football in a way that's unlike any other program in the country. There's no NFL team. There's no NBA team. There's no Major League Baseball team. There's no NHL team. Like, to understand how important this is and how it drives the state, that an entire state of young people aspire to and dream about being a part of this Nebraska Cornhuskers football program. And so folks who cannot get regular season tickets for that 90,000 in the sea of red at Memorial Stadium on Saturdays in the fall in Lincoln, Nebraska, the spring game is an opportunity for them to be a part of Nebraska football. Like, this is their big day. This is folks who come from corners of the state come in for the spring game because they can get the tickets. If you buy them in advance, they're $10 a piece. If you buy them the day of, it's $20 a piece. And I can tell you, you can't sniff the stadium in the autumn for that amount of money. And if you have families, and a lot of the folks who come in for spring game are families, it's a chance for the young people to actually be in the stadium, to see this, be a part of the Sea of Red, to get to see the players. They often get to meet former Huskers, those legacy players and those legends. They get to meet those people, and they get to dream. They get to dream. Saturday in April in Memorial Stadium is a day where deep breath, exhale. It's a chance to dream of the return to greatness. The elder folks, no, they were alive, living, kicking, screaming when the Huskers were winning national titles in the 80s and 90s. They were around in the early 2000s when they were competitive and in conference championship games and had a legitimate shot, even in preseason where they were ranked, and they remember the Heisman hype. But some of that's been taken away. It's been stripped away. And so the spring game in Lincoln, Nebraska means so much. It means much to the businesses. It means much to the sponsors. It means much to the media. It means much to the policy leaders. It means much to the government. And it means much to the community. Because nothing, and I mean nothing in the state rallies this state like Nebraska football. And so the most important day in all of Nebraska from now until August 25th is Saturday, April 22nd. It's the most important day because it's a day where the state is united. The state is connected. The state is unified in form and in sound and in voice. That's how important spring game is at the University of Nebraska. And that's why it's important, because in the next segment, we'll go through some of the numbers. And there are very few programs in the country who can talk about their spring game with the number and the quality and the consistency and the volume of spring game at Memorial Stadium for the University of Nebraska. There are very few. It's a short list. So we'll talk about the history of the spring game and some of the attendance, and we'll kind of start the GPS in 2004, and we'll move forward over the course of this episode. We'll do that when we come back to Locked On Huskers. Don't go anywhere. If you haven't subscribed, do so. Click the button. If you haven't shared the content, please do so. More spring talk, spring game 2023 when we come back to Locked On Huskers. Welcome back, folks. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen each and every single day. And if you've subscribed in the first segment, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, hit the pause button, click the subscribe button. Let's get those numbers up. It's spring football time. Let's go big. Let's go big. I want to thank the folks from FanDuel Sportsbook for what they do for Locked On. Again, across the board. And again, great details. If you just download the app, it's safe, secure, easy to use. If you want more details and more perks, use this code. Go to fanduel.com/lockedon. It provides lots of details and perks for you. And then simple, ride with me in those 4 words that mean so much here. Make every moment more. FanDuel Sportsbook. Thank you. We were talking about spring game and how important it is. And I had to catch myself because I started to get pumped up and hyped again, because I've covered sports all over the country, and I can tell you that there's no place, not in Texas, not in the DMV, not in Utah, not in California, not in Charlotte, North Carolina, nowhere is there the volume and consistency of fan enthusiasm and involvement like it is at the University of Nebraska and in Lincoln, Nebraska. It moves the community. It really is. It's a big day. Saturday's going to be a big day. It'll be a big weekend. Of course, the return of Frank Solich and the celebration of Frank Solich, the program, is going to be a big part of it. I know there's a big event Saturday night. There'll be a ceremony, some announcements before game, and then a ceremony at halftime or midway through the spring game as well. Let's go back to the Callahan years. And again, the emergence of social media and the involvement, the push behind the spring game. Now, it's a handful of schools. It's 7 schools who, in theory, are even in the same universe with Nebraska when it comes to attendance to spring games. In 2004, the number was 61,147. This is during the Coach Callahan era, where there was still some modicum of success on the field and then all the other stuff that happens. Now, the push and the pump would be that fans began to assume and accept a natural blue blood place in college football. And what happens is you get used to and comfortable in your success. And if you ever start to take it for granted, it always comes back to haunt. But for 2004 to have 61,000 and then have that number go up to 64,000 the following year. So 2005, 64,000 plus Husker fans showed up at Memorial Stadium. Now, the reports will tell you that there was still an air of connectivity with the fan base. Like the Sea of Red was still active even outside the stadium. But that number dropped in 2006, and Husker fans will do the dance with you and go on the roller coaster ride that was with you. And that in 2007, there were 54,000. When that drop of 10,000 fans over the course of 4 years was a statement to the athletic department and the community that comfort was achieved, satisfaction was achieved, but the success was not. And so you got to rattle the cage. And as they chose to rattle the cage, what they chose to do was to go from Callahan to Bo Pelini. And if you want to talk about, revving up the engine and pumping it all up, that Bo Pelini and his place in Nebraska football, look, the entire Husker Nation splits. And those that are absolutely fanatical about Bo Pelini. And those that feel like, you know what? But in that year, 80,000 Husker fans showed up at Memorial Stadium for a spring game. 80,000 fans showed up. What? Look, I don't care what any other fan base is telling me. You're blue blood if you get 80,000 people to show up do anything. If 60,000 is a number, like there are programs that have 60,000 people ever, and I mean ever showed up for a spring game, it would be top page news, it would be front page, it would be the lead story. And in Nebraska, it's 60,000, not 80, 60, really good. 80, hey, we're on to a thing. And that number stayed above. It went from 78,000 to 78,000 again. So, okay, right? Maybe 2,000 people were so upset at not winning the conference championship, they decided not to show up for spring game. But still, 78,000 said, screw it. We're rolling. We're in here. We're going to ride this thing. And then 67,000. 11,000 spring fans were lost. And then to just dump on top of that. Just dump on top of that. 2012, the weather said, we're not letting you do anything. Listen, we need to clean the whole thing up. Let's just pour water on it. Let's just do it. So then Husker Nation stood up. And there are moments that every Husker fan of age can tell you where they were in 2013 for Jack. Every Husker fan watching this, every Husker fan who was in the building. Of course, the numbers say that there were 60,000 or so, but if you ask around, there were 120,000 people who tell you they were in the building that day for Jack's run. That's how powerful that is. And it is a moment that will live in Husker Nation forever. The following year, it's hard to follow Jack's run. Very hard to do. Bo Pelini said, hold my beer. Matter of fact, he said, hold my cat. Bo Pelini's cat makes an appearance in front of 60+ thousand at Memorial Stadium. Not enough to save the day. Too much expectation, too high of a standard, too many flaws. Enter Mike Riley. And as Husker Nation does, in 2017, they rallied. Expectations then elevate again. 77,000 Husker fans showed up. We'll put a pin there because 77,000, 72,000, and then there was 2018. Scott Frost. More Locked On Huskers. Hey, gang, thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch. This has been a great journey, and I can tell you for tomorrow's episode, we're going to talk about the spring game and just some things to watch, some little things to watch, players to watch, players that I believe are going to tell the story on Monday, that these are the names that will tell you how this thing went on Saturday. And so we'll go through that in tomorrow's podcast. But in the meanwhile, we reached 2018. Riley's out. And the return of the prodigal son. The return of the great one. The return to glory. The return to status, the return to a name, the return to energy, a return of Scott Frost. And Husker Nation could not have been more engaged and more enthusiastic and more present. 86,800 Husker fans showed up at Memorial Stadium in 2018 to watch spring game. And look, when you have a national champion and a Hall of Fame player come back to lead the program, and he looked the part, and he talked the part, and he revved up the fan base, and the fan base reacted. In Frost, they trusted. And second chance opportunities happened because they believed in Frost. As I said, in Frost, they trust. In year 2, 2019, 86,000 showed up again. Still believing, still hoping, still enthusiastic, still loud. Again, there's a handful of programs that ever achieved 86,000 fans for a spring game. Nebraska did it consecutive years. And then to rattle the cage, as the football gods have a sense of humor, that in the biggest year of Scott Frost's career here at the University of Nebraska, COVID. COVID. The universe said, nope. You don't care about your numbers and your enthusiasm. Shut it down. Shut it down. And then 2021, football said, listen, we'll allow you half the crowd. 50% attendance. So 36,000 fans said, screw it. We're out here. Like, let's do it. We'll spread out. We'll still celebrate. We'll get to do it. And then last year, in an important year, and we said how important it was for the state, for the university, for the athletic program, for Scott Frost, for the players involved, it was important for them to have success and full support. And they needed a cosign from Husker Nation, and they didn't get it. They didn't get it. And there's several failings in it because you decided to have a flag football game and you had an open look into the very antithesis of what Nebraska football is supposed to be about, which is about hitting, tackling, blocking. None of that was really important or the priority or the focus last year. Which brings us to this year, which brings us to April 22nd. And Matt Rule's first, this is opening night. Are you ready for your close-up, Mr. DeMille? Like, this is, Coach Rule, this is it. And so Saturday, April 22nd, we're told that 60+ thousand tickets have been sold, but the measuring stick is Scott Frost in 86. The measuring stick is Bo Pelini and his 80,000, the measuring stick, right? You got to draw more than Coach Callahan, right? Stuff is in play. Riley drew 77,000 in year one. It will be a statement out loud for Husker Nation about how connected and how much trust they have in Matt Rule and this program. We'll know everything we want to know about the state of the union for Nebraska football Saturday, April 22nd, when they announce the attendance for the spring game. And like no other place in the country, it will be a statement out loud about their belief and their support of Matt Rule and this football program. So, Husker fans, buckle up. Saturday, April 2nd, 22nd, you get to make a statement. You get to make a statement about how much you believe in Matt Rule, about Nebraska football, and this roster that exists. We'll know more on Monday than we know today. Looking forward to it, folks. Looking forward to it. Again, thank you. Tomorrow we'll talk about, some of the stories. What will be the lead stories? If you're writing the article on the tale of Spring Ball 2023, we'll do that tomorrow. But for now, we'll put a pin in it. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll close with the 3 words we love so much. Go Big Red.